Hey, what's going on there, folks? Good morning, good afternoon. It is the Earth Master back here on this Tuesday, July 18th, 2023. It's about 11:52 a.m. here, California time. Latest quake on the Earthquake 3D globe shows a 4.2 here around the Indonesia Islands area in this large cluster of movement. Going to jump into space weather first here and chat about an ongoing proton event there across the polar regions. This is due to yesterday's heightened long duration M flare. Of course, that sunspot region on the southwestern limb of the sun is now out of view, but this thing did peak a tremendous amount of long duration event that is still kind of being picked up here across the ionosphere. Looks like mostly up at the northern polar regions, but still having an effect throughout the area. Far as that sunspot region goes, that's going to be 3363, which is probably no longer visible, or at least barely visible, here on the southwestern quadrant or limb of the sun. Just barely. You can barely see the structure. So we're left with quite a few other sunspots of interest. I think the main one's going to be this area center disk that is almost lined up perfectly with the Earth. So if anything does blast off from here, it will be geo-effective. Still waiting on some documentation on whether we'll get an effect here on Earth from that CME that was produced yesterday by this large sunspot. We do have another region here that we're watching on the south, well, at least on the eastern limb. Let me pull up the UV filter array here real quick and show you guys a new sunspot region over here. Just barely visible. It is currently flaring. I don't believe it's named yet, but it will be shortly. Just barely visible on the eastern limb that is currently flaring. A new active sunspot region, so we'll continue to watch that as that evolves and rotates further into the Earth view. Let's see here. So this was from updated here in regards to that activity yesterday. Looks like the low energy proton levels remain on the rise and a moderate S2 level radiation storm. That was from yesterday, but we're still seeing that radiation up there into the ionosphere, mostly into the northern areas, but still affecting the planet. Looking at the solar flare threat continuing to stay relatively elevated, 99% chance for a C flare, M flare at 50, X flare around 2% chance, 20% chance, not 2%, 20% chance. Proton event around 15%. As we can see, that's continuing though to be elevated there across the regions. So most of this threat right now looks to be from the former sunspot here, 3363. It's still a sunspot, obviously, but it's getting out of view. And a couple other regions. We'll watch this one here, though, center disk, for some activity, as it still looks fairly unstable. All right, moving on here. Let's see, as far as any... there's that CME from yesterday, pretty massive. But there's a little question on if this is going to be... have an Earth-directed component or not. It was obviously pointing away from Earth, but this kind of looks like it's a full massive CME, a full one, and could be. We could get a glancing blow here in the coming days. We'll see though what the Space Weather Prediction Center calls for this activity. All right, let's go ahead and move on to earthquake activity, see if we got anything stirring up following all this solar weather activity. Looking at the big picture here on the USGS map, really not seeing anything major kicking up here across the USGS side. EMSC model over here still showing a little bit of smaller earthquake activity, including that 4.2 here across the Indonesia Islands area. And a little older movement down south here from, excuse me, yesterday. Something's in the air today. Getting a little bit of wildfires out here from the lightning that struck out here a couple nights back. I can definitely smell it in the air. That's all we need. All right, looking at the area around Mexico. A couple earthquakes kicking up here just into the northern edge here of the Middle America Trench and off of the plate boundary itself. This is going to be between the Pacific and the Cocos plate here. This little segment right here showing a little bit of activity today, including a 5.6 earlier this morning. 2 earthquakes literally within minutes of each other in that zone. Eastern portion of the country over here showing some smaller earthquake activity. Couple 1s and some 2s out around the Great Smoky Mountains area. Up against the Appalachian Mountains there. That whole range showing a little bit of activity on the southern end. New Madrid seismic zone. Seen 1 earthquake early this morning, a 1.6. A little scattered activity throughout Oklahoma and Texas. And Yellowstone, looks like most of this activity, some of it just after midnight. So let's go check it out here real quick. See what's cooking over here at Yellowstone. I already see it. It's going to be this Maple Creek, this little activity here. Very small microquake movement, and as you can see, looks like the largest was a 1.5. So nothing major to write home about. No major swarms. Just a little bit of activity up there across the northwestern corner of Yellowstone, of Wyoming. California. Well, we got some movement off the. Looks like the creeping segment once again, right smack dab on it. A little bit of activity on the Garlock Fault as well, 1.1. Not seeing any major swarming going on here across the southern portion of the state, but we are watching some activity down a little bit further south of the border, it looks like here on the globe. Some 4s and 3s being stirred up here into the Baja region. That could work its way up across the area of the state today. We'll watch this region around the southern branch of the San Andreas Fault. But right now, no swarms, no major earthquake movement to take note of. Also a little bit of activity increasing up here across the Aleutian Trench. Did see another 4.4 over here where that 7-pointer struck here a couple days ago. About 35 kilometers deep, and 4.9 from yesterday near the False Pass, Alaska area. It looks like 106 kilometers south of that region. 48 kilometers deep for that earthquake. Hawaii lighting up slightly here today. 1 earthquake in the crater of the Kilauea volcano. Looks like 1.7. Nothing major going on there. Mostly smaller microquake activity there. Continuing around the Pahala area. The Western Pacific pretty quiet aside from these very small. I can't really say very small. They're not microquakes. They're just a bunch of 3s and some 4s out here, some lower grade 4s across the area of the Taiwan region southward. Looks like we're getting a little bit of movement further into the Java Trench areas as well. Either way, pretty good cluster of movement taking place here. We'll watch that zone. Mediterranean area, looking a little bit more active today. Quite a few 2s and 3s scattered out here. The Atlantic Ocean, pretty quiet. New Zealand kind of jumped over them because there wasn't a whole lot going on there, but we will double check the GeoNet servers for the latest information here. Looks like 2.2, about an hour or 4 hours ago, North Island area. The all magnitudes will show the smaller quakes, and it looks like there's a few. 4.2 well up along the Kermadec Trench, but mostly smaller microquakes there today, as shown on the GeoNet earthquake map. And far as the GeoNet drums go, the seismograph stations themselves, well, not a whole lot. Some smaller microquake activity as mentioned on that map, but not seeing any broad scale swarming. No major elevated activity there today. Storm Prediction Center, well, this is the weather here today across a good portion of the Midwest, it looks like. Getting in on some enhanced severe potential. I believe that looks like most of that potential is going to be some damaging wind gust. Tornado potential is only about 2% chance there across the areas in the green. But we do have a little bit of hail threats in there as well. Roughly around the those same areas. So just a heads up if you're out there. Thunderstorm forecast does show that activity throughout the late afternoon, early evening continuing. California sitting here, we're a little bit cooler today. It's not as hot. Only supposed to get up to 102 today. 94 degrees right now at noon. No major cool down in the forecast, unfortunately. It's just one of those things we're dealing with right now here along the west coast. I wish I was at the coast. It'd be much cooler, but here in the Sacramento Valley, we are just underneath a major heat dome. And that's not going away. It's definitely sticking around for at least the foreseeable future here. In fact, coming up here, I think on Thursday, is it Thursday? We're supposed to be up there around 110 again today, or 110 Thursday around Chico. Here it comes again. On Friday, I believe it's supposed to be pretty hot as well. Yeah, let's hope it's not 116 around here. That is miserable. So it looks like Friday is going to be the hot scorcher of a day. And that's just the pattern out here, unfortunately. So we got to deal with it, get through it, and look for the fall weather to come up hopefully soon. Once we get past July, August can be very hot as well. So I'm hoping for a little bit cooler than normal August, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. All right, folks, I'm going to jump off here and probably make it a pool day. Have a good day. Stay safe out there, and we'll catch you guys back here a little bit later tonight, of course, unless something major happens. Have a good one.